This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
Thanks for tuning into Power Athlete Radio. Jon Andersen's life reads like an adventure novel. This three-sport athlete has traveled the world competing in various facets of strength and performance. But he's best known for dominating each arena using what he calls the Deep Water method. It's not only how he's lived and succeeded in sport, but how he views his own competitive spirit. Here Jon discusses what he calls the governor of his training, that which dictates how hard to push. Also, how much protein does a pro bodybuilder at 275 need to consume just to maintain mass? The number is alarming. Jon claims to not have had a carb in years and says that his reliance on high-protein diet simply works for him. Wellborn and Andersen go on to reminisce about Bob Sapp and offer their tips for achieving greatness. This is truly a packed episode of inspiration and a close look at the life cycle of a gifted lifter. And not only that, we're offering you, our listeners, a chance at a free download of Jon's publication, Deep Water. The first 5,000 people to sign up using the form attached to this blog post on www.powerathletehq.com will get Jon's ebook free of charge. This offer is only for a short time, so sign up now. This is episode 157.
Power Athlete Nation, what is up? It's that time again for the world's or best strength and conditioning podcast. What do we premier?
Premier.
The most premier podcast in strength and conditioning. You are here with me, Luke Summers, out in Southern California. I'm sitting next to here, John Wellborn, the big man. And then in DC, we have Tex. Say Tex. I'm Tex.
I was not actually in Texas, huh?
That's the irony. He's from Texas, but he's in DC. So
I love it, baby.
I always wonder when he goes back to Texas, what do you say? You're like, hey, I'm Tex?
And
as long as I can.
That raspy voice on the other end of the line is our man, Jon Andersen. If you don't know this guy, like he's got a wide-angle webcam, and he can't fit his traps in it. It's fucking perfect.
I thought he got stung by a bunch of bees.
Don't give away my secrets.
But if you go Google Jon Andersen now, I mean, it's not the one with the O-N because that guy's like a cellist or something.
I think he's the goddamn singer from the group Yes.
I think that's actually true. And the funny part was when we were doing some Googling, I actually had to go down and watch a couple of the Yes YouTube videos.
I love that group, dude. When I was a Little League player, Yes was the shit, baby.
If you don't know who Jon Andersen is, this guy is a bodybuilder, professional wrestler, power lifter. I mean, dude is engrossed in shaking plates and moving iron. So it's an honor to have you on the show, John. Welcome.
Right on, baby. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's do this. Let's just start out with the formalities, man. Give us your background, not the 3-hour version that I saw on Mark Bell's Strength YouTube video. It's like the old 5-10 minute version. Where are you from? What happened?
How far back you want me to start this bitch? You want me to start back when I was searching for my goals in the bottom of the ice cream containers? You want me to go to where I actually started to find how to pull it off?
Yes.
Both.
Okay. So basically, as a kind of a young, chubby, fat kid, I knew I wanted to do great things, but I had no clue to do it. That I finally, through obviously growth and everything else, with proper mentors, I finally recognized that there was a level of commitment and hard work that was not really widespread. And I am definitely, this is way back before we had all these initials for problems, but, I'm a dyslexic son of a bitch. I've got every abbreviation with ADD and HED all put together. So I was able to use that to my advantage and create a work ethic that was really unmatched. And so basically the work ethic was there, and I recognized what I could do when I worked harder than everybody else. I think what probably the missing, well, I shouldn't say probably, the absolute missing part of the equation was how to support that hard work and long time in the gym with nutrition, because, at those times, there wasn't a lot of information floating around out there. You see on TV, eat wheat, so, I'm going to the fucking grocery store and I'm buying loaves of wheat bread. I'm fucking sitting there.
How old are you? How old are you?
44 right now.
Okay.
And so I'm going to, high school, it's senior year. I'm sitting down with all my buddies eating fucking loaves of wheat bread. They're looking at me, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I was under the understanding wheat was building muscle. So fuck man, if that commercial had said dog shit builds muscle, I'd have been eating turds, So then it went to, it's all the bullshit on TV, whatever the lobbyists are pushing. So long and short of it, somewhere along the lines, I think it was probably because I didn't have what I needed. I ate a bunch of tuna fish, and I recognized that period where I was eating the tuna fish was very different than when I was eating all the fucking wheat bread. And so I started tying two and two together that, hey, this has got this protein. There's something to this. So I started going over the top of protein. And I'm a black or white. You put me in the gray and I'm lost as a motherfucker. So when I started eating wheat bread, I was eating wheat bread. When I started eating protein, I was eating protein. And so long and short of it, I was eating whatever I choose to eat. I ate so much of it, there's not a lot of room for anything else. So I was just consuming, literally every little bit of protein I could get my hands on. And so once that started to happen, that's when the magic really started to play. And then all of the efforts, the 3.5, 4-hour stints in the gym I was doing as a youngster was actually being supported with the building blocks that I needed to actually get stronger. I remember one summer I got so strong, and it was because that was the summer that I had stumbled across tuna fish. And so obviously I was just smart enough to realize that tuna fish was only one form of protein. So I just started sucking it down. And
so what are these 3 hours, like when you say youngster, what are you, 15, 16, 20?
No, by that time I probably had skipped forward to college because
okay.
I really went to college because it was a way for my parents for me to pay for me to go to the gym. And I was going to a really fucking expensive Catholic school. And, it's basically my mom, she knew what she had. I wanted to go to a big state school with all my buddies. She's like, not going to happen,
Yeah.
And it's probably good because I would have got pulled off track. So she stuck me in a school it was just about the same size as my high school. And, there was no good looking chicks there, but they had, a killer weight room, and that's all I needed. So, I would design my class schedule so that I could get up in the morning, eat breakfast, get my classes out of the way, eat lunch, take a nap, and I had the afternoon to train. So, I would be in that gym. Jesus Christ. Sometimes, like I said, 3-4 hours a day, man. It was like, I literally could it was probably in my mind. Well, maybe a little bit of both. But, I could literally feel myself getting better and stronger with the time that I spent. So, any creature on the fucking planet, you put in X and you get back X plus, you're going to keep going back to the well. And looking back, there's no question in my mind I was way overtrained, but that's really what turned me into who I am because I adapted over the course of years of training by myself without a mentor to these long, hard, brutal workouts. And one of the things that people don't understand is that, if you put a little off topic, but you put yourself, look at you find people that are starving to death, and it's crazy how long they can go in these deadly circumstances because their body finds a way to adapt. So you put yourself in a circumstance where you could thrive, it'll adapt the same way. You just got to have the fucking nuts and the goddamn discipline to fucking keep it going because, I would burn through training partners. People, once I started to really catch fire, people wanted a piece. Come on, let's go, And if I had a training partner for a month, that'd be pretty good because these motherfuckers had no clue what they were signing up for. And that pretty much stretched my whole goddamn career. I've been training now, like seriously, this year marks the 30-year mark, 3 fucking decades. And it's never stopped. I mean, my training methods have been long and they've been intense, and they are all based around doing shit that forces you to adapt, period. You know, I mean, if it's something like, 5 sets of 5, fuck, anybody can do that. I don't give a shit about that. Maybe if it's going to be 5 sets of 5, well, let's do 5 sets of 5 with some fucking ungodly heavy weight. That makes sense in my mind. Doing 5 sets of 5 with 70% of your max, what the fuck are you doing?
John, what were your training goals at this stage in your lifting career? Were you just fighting for more?
That's, it's interesting because I was one of those people who knew that I wanted to be this big, strong motherfucker, but I didn't really know where I was going to go with it, if that makes sense. I just knew it was like a vortex. I would be sucked that direction. And I figured once I got in there, I'd figure out what I was going to do with it. But that was a big question in my mind too. I knew for sure I did not want to get out of college and go get a fucking job. So I had to figure out, how was I going to take this and turn it into a fucking living? And let me tell you, I am a mama's boy to the hilt. So I had to do this in a way that was going to get my mom's approval, which was a son of a bitch, let me tell you. I mean, she used to look at me and say, when are you going to be normal again? My 2 older brothers, about as normal as could be. One of my oldest brother actually was a professional tennis player. I mean, so talk about, a proud mom, Jesus Christ, a tennis player for a mom. He actually played he was a pro for a stint. He played the clay courts over in Europe. That was an athlete that she was proud of, not this fucking guy that was swelling up in the neck, So the only thing that she really dug about it was I was a fat kid. And I had all sorts of eating issues. And so all this gym time had turned that around. So she liked that. But, she knew me well enough to know that I take everything too far and was just wondering, when was I going to take these efforts and apply it to something that was going to help my life? She just didn't of course, how would a mother understand what the fuck I was doing? Christ, my dad didn't understand it, So it was, I guess to answer your question, that was my goal. I wanted to be the biggest, the strongest motherfucker you could ever see, but I didn't know really where I was going to end up with it. So I was training, I was eating, I was getting big, and I was getting strong. That was enough at that time.
So, John, you mentioned a couple times mentors. So your mentor list at this point, like you said, kind of just finding X and going and doing it 10X because you keep getting these redeeming qualities. And when did you hit that point? When did you find the mentor? Who was it? What did they teach you? How did it change the trajectory that you were on?
That's a good question because I really never found a mentor until I actually was in an actual sport because, I mean, who was going to mentor me when I was doing everything so different? Nobody had a fucking clue what I was doing, like on a squat day, even at like a 20-year-old, I put 405 in the bar. How many times could I squat it? It wasn't 5 sets of 5, So these people that could have been my mentor, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? I'm over here and I'm doing it, I mean, what you're doing is a piece of fucking cake. Of course, I wouldn't say that to them depending on who they were and what level of respect I had for them. But realistically, I didn't get a mentor. I didn't actually have any real guidance until I got into the sport of strongman and started traveling with these guys who had been, true strength athletes for years. Then I started really soaking up the information like Mark Philippi, Gillingham brothers. They were great because they were when I first got in, they were kind of the older crew. And another one, rest his soul, was actually Jesse Morunde. He was quite a bit younger than me, but at that time, when I was just getting in, he was already pro. and had already made it to World's Strongest Man. So it wasn't about age. It was about experience and what could someone offer me in terms of advice. So that's when I really started soaking it up. I realized that all these people that were out, doing it, those were the ones I was going to listen to.
Nice. And then, so I guess, then how did that shift you? Like, what did you learn from their experience?
Even then, there was still, a lot of advice still was a little conflicting because, my methods were so different to get me there. Like I remember Mark Philby actually gave me a pretty good piece of advice one time. And it was because my competitive schedule had gotten so busy that I was needing more recovery than I was accustomed to because, competing's a different game than training in the gym. And so he would tell me, he would say, don't leave it in the gym, meaning keep that day, in your back pocket for when we show up wherever we're going, and that really helped because at that point I had no governor. When I was, if I was lifting, I was going. And then I started to recognize that, once I started to recognize there was about a week of real, serious downtime before competition, that really helped me because I recognized that with that type of kind of active recovery leading into a competition, I was so much better than if I didn't take the rest necessary. But it was tough to do that because, in my guts and my heart of hearts, I wasn't used to taking these breaks, but now things are different now. All the work I did along the way got me where I wanted to go. Now it was time for me to learn how to perform my best.
So, John, that governor is a hard lesson learned for a lot of athletes. And I know from just freshmen coming in or rookies coming in, they come in with the swagger and attitude of they're invincible. Could you talk about the process? I know you can say you hit that governor, but how many times did you hit the wall? Did you get injured or anything like that to really, say, I need to change?
That's once I actually, because strongman was my first career. And once I got out and I started competing and it's kind of my way. Everything that I do all my homework first. So I went strongman, everything I've done, I've gotten to the top really quickly. So my first international strongman contest was also my third. And so when I show up to these things, I was very, very clear in understanding that experience-wise, I was way over my head. And so I was much more open to listen to the people that were helping me in terms of being a better competitor. A lot of these competitions, I got on Team USA, I've got 4 teammates that are trying to help me because we want to win. And I remember Phil Pfister telling me that he thought that if I played my cards a little differently, that I would do better in the later events in day one because, I would go so hard. It took me a little bit to understand that I just needed to do what was necessary to win the event and then put the shit down and walk back to the tent, as to where, my first, when I turned pro and I got my pro card, I was beating everybody by 10, 12 reps and everything. And I could have beat them by 1, put it down and walked away. But it just wasn't in my mentality at that point, So the governor was kind of, I guess you would say it was kind of given to me, not like, hey, this is going to help you. It's like, hey, you're part of this team and we need you to perform better. So listen up, So that's how the governor came into play. But I will say, I fight with the governor all the time because not listening to that governor is that's what makes me me, even in my general attitudes, it's like my mentality, it's like I think it's easy for people to recognize that there's 2 speeds, on or off. I'm either black or white. And that governor exists in the gray, and I don't spend much time in there,
John, is that where the deep water philosophy came from? You kind of throw everybody into deep water and you just fucking either survive or you don't?
Yeah, so Deep Water, basically, I mean, it was kind of being developed from way back in the early part, the early stories I was telling you, as far as the long training hours and the nutrition and the discovery of protein. But Deep Water really came from the fact that I felt like the gains in the training really started once things were fucking brutal. That's when I tell my athletes that I'm training, I say, look, when you can't breathe and you don't think there's another rep, and I tell you to get one more and you pull it off, that rep is worth the first 5 put together. I said, so once you're in that space, take advantage, because that's where the gains are. The gains are in the pain. If you're not in pain, you're not getting shit out of this, So the Deep Water philosophy was kind of it was really developed through, my own form of training, which was way outside the box. And then ultimately I started to recognize that a lot of what was making me was the fact that I was existing in my training, long. When most people would quit a set, I would still go. And I had the intention of going. And that's where Deep Water came from, because you're in deep water. It's like you're swimming out into the deep, dark water, and you have no regards for the next set or how you're going to get back to shore. You swim till you drown, or you swim till you make the other side. So that's where it came from, is that, life begins when you're hurting,
So I know you were talking about you have your training facility up in near San Francisco. Is this, when people walk in, if they want to train with you, is this what they could expect? Like, is it a private gym? Is it invite only? Can I just walk in and ask for an assessment?
It is private, but I will say that there's, keep in mind, like, there are definitely deep water. There's definitely deep water integrated into the programs. However, it's not for everybody. And like, say, for football players, the biggest thing that deep water does for them is it grooms them mentally.
Well, John, but it sounds like you don't want everybody. I mean, that's kind of like the one thing actually that's refreshing about this is, obviously the black and white, but you're an extreme person. You're a type A personality. Like, it's either fucking gas or brake. You either got your foot on the accelerator or we're fucking in park. And I think for most of the world, and this, having been around it, most people aren't like that. Most people are fucking scared of the accelerator. They're really nervous to put their foot down. Because it's almost like an idea. If somebody goes 100 miles an hour and they fail, then, they're pretty upset. Whereas if they don't ever put their foot on the accelerator and they fail, then they never really try. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, like, I don't know if you know any history on me, but I was fortunate to play in the NFL for 10 years.
Oh, very cool, brother. Very cool.
So actually, we have a really mutual friend. One of my closest friends in the world is Bob Sapp.
Ah, no shit.
Yeah, so
I spent a lot of time with Bob in Japan. That's killer.
Dude, when I was a young guy, so I got drafted and went to the Eagles. My agent hooked me up with Mauro De Pasquale for a supplement deal. And so Mauro, did all my original supplements, and that's how I got into like doing the anabolic diet. And Bob and Dr. D had worked together. So he sends me over and goes, hey, I want to set you up with this guy to talk some nutrition and just, have somebody to pal around with. So Bob was down in Baltimore. So I ended up meeting up with Bob, and fuck, dude, we talked almost every single day for like 5 years. It was like one of my like oldest friends, and like this is when he was still in the NFL, and then he went out and fought Tough Man, and then went over to Japan. And he was at my wedding. He was in my wedding. So yeah, one of my oldest friends in the world. So when I Googled your name, it came up that you guys were buddies, and so
the last time I saw Bob, I'm trying to think. It was either the last time or the time before, but either way, we were in North Korea together. That was pretty fun. It was we were in this thing where it was called Force for Peace, and so you got fucking Bob and myself and one other American in a place where Americans aren't supposed to go. It was fucking weird, dude.
Well, and the crazy part is Bob, who was pretty amazing in that, Bob goes over to Japan and he calls me on the phone. He's like, man, I speak Japanese. And I was like, dude, you've been there like a month. How the fuck did you learn Japanese? He's like, I don't know. I went to bed one day and I had a dream in Japanese, and I woke up and I was fluent in Japanese. And I'm like, anybody who knows Bob knows that that's a fucking true statement. So I was probably imagining Bob was over there in North Korea and probably was able to speak Korean within like 2 days. So
yeah, he's a cool cat, man. I'll tell you with every time we see each other, it's like we never missed a beat. There's just certain people you kind of have that commonality with,
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, Bob, same thing. Like he'll call me and like fill me in on all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, dude, he's one of literally my oldest friends. So like.
I love because, he's like, when he was telling me his story with NFL, I mean, for people who haven't met this guy, I mean, holy Christ. People look at me and think I'm big. I look like a fucking midget compared to Bob. I mean, Bob is, 6'6", 340. When he's in good shape, he's got abs. I mean, he's a specimen, And so he's telling me about his football. He's he's telling me stories about, my best position was butt back. Get your butt back to the bench, goddammit.
Dude, Bob, so I go meet Bob for the first time. And Bob, I think he was probably, I mean, I don't know if he's 6'6". He's a little shorter than me, and I'm 6'6". So he's probably pretty close. And I was weighing probably right around like 300 pounds. And, I'm looking at Bob, and like he like looks skinny. And I'm like, how much you weigh? He's like, I'm like 340. And I was like, 40 fucking pounds. And then it was like 2 years later, after he had got out and like had done some fighting thing, we were supposed to meet in Vegas, and so like he comes walking through the. I'm sorry, he had a fight in Vegas that my brother and I went to, and so he comes walking in, and he was weighing probably about 415 pounds at the time. I think he's what he weighed in at, and he's easily abbed up. I mean, he was sub 10%, at least 7-8% body fat. He took his fucking shirt off.
Dude, he's a specimen, period.
And, I mean, 400 pounds, right? so like, we go out to the pool, and there was, like, a pro bodybuilder dude, that Craig Titus guy who's fucking in jail. He killed somebody. But, like, Craig Titus, who was a big pro, dude looked like Ram Man. I mean, he had to be, like, all bit of, like, 5'5", fucking 275. And this dude's fucking And Bob takes his shirt off, and, like, the look on this dude's face was like,
he shit his pants, dude.
I'm going to go kill myself.
Yeah.
And hopefully I come back as this dude's offspring, was his comment. But like he was like looking at this guy, and he's like, you have to be fucking kidding me. He's like,
Bob is an attraction, man. We've done the stuff that we've done together is pretty killer, because I know that when I'm working with Bob, it's going to be big. Like North Korea was big. Done a couple of Tokyo Dome wrestling shows with him. He's an attraction. I mean, I think there was a point in time where he was the most popular American figure in Japan. I mean, it's crazy.
He was Time Magazine's Japan's Time Magazine Man of the Year like 5 times.
Oh yeah.
And so like we walk into this. He like comes in the hotel. And we walk in, and like he has a fight, and all of a sudden he like stops, and I'm like, "What's up?" And it was like maybe 100 Japanese tourists just happened to be walking through the hotel.
Oh, they probably.
Well, he like stops. He's like, dude, don't say anything. I'm like, why? And all of a sudden, as soon as he said it, I like looked over, and these people saw him, and they were like, ah! And he was like a fucking Backstreet Boy. Like, these people screamed and started to melt the fuck down. It was like literally like I like
he still gets it, dude. He like so gets it. He has the voice he puts on for the fans, the laugh, and her. I mean, people that don't know him thinks that that's his voice, and it's not far off from his real voice.
Yeah.
But he so gets how to be an athlete and an entertainer, and that's what people miss.
He's incredible. He just, Bob was. So Bob was great as long as he only had to go this way. The problem is in the NFL, you have to go every which way.
That's where the butt back came in, huh?
Well, he just, and like, he was actually better. Like, they actually tried him at defensive line, and he was pretty good because he just had to go fucking straight ahead. The problem is they tried to play him at offensive line, and like, he just didn't have the kind of lateral type movement he needed. Now he's so fucking strong. You want him and big that, you want him on your team because, you want him getting off the bus first. My other favorite part about Bob is Bob was by far the smallest eater I've ever been around.
That's crazy, dude, isn't it? I mean, we sit there, like, after shows, we'll go to sponsors and stuff, and I'm a huge fucking eater, you know? And he's sitting there, he's got, like, this little fucking plate of, like, cabbage, and he's picking at it. I'm like, you're just putting him on the side of the fucking floor. What are you doing? He's just having a good time, man.
We go out to dinner.
He just came out of his mom, like whatever he is, and was just ready to be a premier athlete.
And he like, we go out and eat, and he would order like 2 appetizers, and like he's like, I like appetizers, small plates, and I get full real fast. And like I always fucking like thought about it. I'm like, it almost had to be that there was like some fucking mutant gene that was like preventing him from eating, so that he didn't grow to be like. So like I used to joke with Bob that.
Hey, I'm sorry, fellas, real quick. I apologize. I'm starting to wiggle. I got to take a piss. I'm drinking like 2.5 gallons of water. So I'm 2 weeks away from a contest. So I'm going to probably have to do this a few times.
That's fine. Go for it.
Sorry to cut the story. I swear to God, they're 10 seconds.
No problem. Yeah, we'll cut it out.
Yesterday, I swear to Christ, I almost pissed in my pants. By the time I got it unzipped, I had a wet spot.
I think we keep that in.
That's a good one.
Yeah, fellas. Shit, man. 2.5 gallons of water a day. Guys got to take a piss a lot, you know?
Fuck, that's a lot of water, dude. I was going to tell you, you know, you're in pretty good shape, but I think your wife or your girl's in way better shape, dude. She got like a vein in her trap. I was like, is that a fucking vein in your trap?
Yeah, she's actually just starting to prep for a contest as well. So we stay in great shape year round, you know?
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Yeah, but, you know, she's now a couple weeks deep into just in a few weeks we're out to start and a lot of changes happen, you know, especially the people that are already in good shape. So sorry about that. I totally apologize for cutting you off. I'll give you a little more warning next time.
No problem. I mean, it's a good segment. I mean, I'm pretty fascinated. Like, you obviously, how did you get from, all right, so you're in college, you get into strongman. How the fuck did you go from strongman to wrestling in Japan?
Well, just a quick heads up. There's actually like a period, we can go that later, but there's a period between college and getting to where I actually got out competing in strongman. We can go into that later.
Well, like, okay, well, how, all right, so where did you go to school? You said you went to a small Catholic school?
University of Portland.
All right, so you went to University of Portland, and then, you know, obviously you're fucking banging weights, you graduate, you decide you don't want to have a real job. What was the kind of the, you know, like, you almost sound like, you know, like you're going to walk the earth. You're trying to be a fucking disciple of iron and just search people out and fucking drown them in the deep water.
I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I just wasn't there. I was a real late bloomer. So I graduated college about 250, and I knew that for me to get where I wanted to go in those days, 250 was big in those days, but 270 was more where I needed to be. So I still had a little weight to put on. So fuck, I came out of college. I'm like, God damn it, what am I going to do? So I really had no interest in trying to sort out a career, not to mention my, I don't know if you saw on the internet, my degree is major in theology and minor in philosophy. What the fuck are you going to do with that, you know?
Stay on podcasts. Podcasts a lot.
So anyway, in the summer times, I had painted houses, you know, to make cash because, you know, I wasn't a full-time job. I was able to work kind of half days and have tons of time to spend at the gym. And, you know, I was fucking making great money. I make $20,000 in the summer for a college kid working part-time. That's pretty killer. So I go, fuck, man, I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that full bore and I'm going to use this to kind of segue me to where I can get out and do what I want. So, of course, by this time, the beautiful thing about this, now Deep Water, even though I haven't titled it or even recognized it exists, I apply that to everything I do. So I went from basically starting this company illegally the first year, no license, no insurance, no nothing. 5 years later, sold it for $500,000 and fucking bam, off I went into the strongman circuit, you know? So Deep Water is way beyond training. It has to do, that's, you know, looking back, when I really started to understand how it developed it has to do, I mean, truthfully, it starts upstairs. It's in the head. Once you understand how to use it, you can apply it to whatever the fuck you want in life, you know? And truthfully now, it's personal improvement. What improvement do you want? You know, so there's the gap there. So went through strongman career. I was a little, even though that was the era of what they call the modern day strongman era, which for me was quite lucky because that's when the 6 foot, 315 pounder could thrive. You know, the Mariusz Pudzianowski era. You know, now you got to be so fucking big. If you're not 6'6", 375, you got nothing.
John, I'm 40, so you're actually the age of my older brothers. And so I remember watching strongmen in those days, and like Pudzianowski, and dude, like that was to me like, you know, watching.
I got some fucking crazy Pudzianowski, brother. Oh fuck,
dude. Do you know a guy named Tom Incledon?
What is it?
Tom Incledon. He's a doctor out of Arizona.
I don't.
He was a strongman guy, and he told me some pretty good fucking Pudzianowski stories about having to do blood work on him. And I think it took him 45 minutes to take 1 tube of blood off him because his blood was so thick that he was having to drink vodka to try to thin out his blood. And he's like, his hematocrit was like so fucking high that like they were kind of like, this is you know, impossible, and that this guy's even walking around. But yeah, no, sorry, go on. Let's get you off.
No, it's okay, bro. I mean, it's that just kind of sums up Poods right there. You know, doing what he seemed to somehow kind of exist where nobody thought he could. You know, but anyway, so as an undersized guy, and I was the modern day, so I was okay, but I was still a little bit on the smaller side. You know, most of the guys were 6'3". You know, I was just a skosh over 6. Anyway, so long and short of it, you know, I ended up I had to have a back surgery. It's part of the process. You beat yourself down. And that was during a time, if you remember correctly, like the .com was booming, so money was everywhere. So there was tons of money I was making a full-blown living through strongman, through sponsors. And they're out of business now, but I had a sports drink called Havoc. And these fuckers were giving me $3,500 a month, and all I had to do was wear a T-shirt, you know? I mean, I would every once in a while they'd fly me in for some event, but it was crazy. And so anyway, so that was a good time in my life. But then, you know, good things come to an end. You know, I had to you know, to compete at that level, I had to be willing to, you know, go that much harder than the guys that just were naturally these big beefcakes. And so I ended up doing my back pretty good, having a back surgery. And so, and just going back to the part of the money, I had an agent at the time because there was enough money to have an agent, you know, in terms of strongman. And I was like, "Fan, dude, what are we going to do?" You know, he's all, "Well, fuck, man, you're 34. There's not many options." He's all, "You want to keep making your living as a professional athlete, you know, pro wrestling's where you got to go." I'm all, "Fuck, dude, I've never even." I mean, the only thing I remember about pro wrestling was Ultimate Warrior, not because it was the wrestling, because he was a big motherfucker, and I just thought I was enamored by his physique. But I was not a wrestling fan in terms of, and this is something I had to hide like a motherfucker because, people that go get good jobs in the wrestling world are not only fans first, but they fucking work for years to get paying jobs. And I fucking basically fucked my back up at strongman, had a surgery at Christmas time, went to a wrestling school so I could learn how to basically dance the dance, so to speak, and not hurt somebody or hurt myself for that matter. And by fucking July or August of that year, I was in Japan for my first time fucking wrestling, you know? And that's just like, that goes back to like the strongman, you know, everything I do is just fucking boom, boom, boom. You know, I was international, my third strongman contest. I think in Japan, my first match in Japan, and you're talking in front of like 10,000 people, was probably my fourth fucking wrestling match. Jesus. You know, because I had to do a couple of little shitty fuckers.
Deep water.
I had to do a couple of those shitty fuckers in like high school gyms just to get a little footage so that my agent could send that shit off. you know? And so that's where the transition came from, because, you know, the strongman had come to an end. Well, I could have had the surgery and gone back, but he said, you'll be back here in less than a year. You're back. I ruptured 2 discs, and they're both like ruptured. One was to the point where it had to be, they had to shave it down and disectomy. The other one was just slightly ruptured. They said that ultimately I'll have to have that one shaved down too, but I've been avoiding that bitch like the plague, but it's coming. I can feel that. So when the first one happened, I got a lot of nerve pain down my left leg, and then ultimately, once I started to develop drop foot, they said, fuck them, let's go. And so the nerve pain now is traveling down my right leg, but it's only about to my knee, so I got some time.
Wow. So what's this, like L4, L5?
Yes. Yeah. So they fixed the, I can't remember
sciatica.
I can't remember which one they fixed, but it's the one above that is the next one in the male. And they maxed me out with the epidurals before surgery, so I was still going for it, you know. And then it got to the point where, look, if you don't, and I didn't know much about it, you know, the surgeon like, if you don't get this done soon, your left leg will never be the same. And it's still truthfully not. Like my calf is, I can't, I mean, you obviously we're athletes, we can choose to flex a muscle. I can't just flex that left calf unless I put it under load, because that nerve connection is just not the same. And I mean, fuck, we're talking, Jesus Christ, 9 years ago, that fucking surgery, you know? So anyway, that was the transition to wrestling. And so when I got the first deal, thank you, baby, a little coffee drop off here. When I got the first deal, it was a mini tour, basically, you know, because they're not gonna invest much in a person they don't know much about. And so my agent said, look, you're going over there for a week. You got like 4 matches. You fuck this up, you will never go back. And so I got over there, and I was able to do well enough for them to contract me, and fucking bam, off I went. You know, and then that was for a company. It was a good company, but it was not the biggest one. The company I really wanted to work for was New Japan, which was the biggest one over there. And ended up getting picked up by them after about a year. Fuck, there it was again, man. Jesus Christ, I'm off and fucking running. So I'm going back and forth to Japan basically every month. And then, interestingly enough, I wrestle all over the world. New Japan had a working agreement with a company in Mexico called CMLL, which is the oldest wrestling company in the world. And anyway, so sometimes they would end up shipping me down there. A lot of times if you ever are a wrestling fan of Mexico City, Arena Mexico is like the hub. You know, it's fucking huge, like 22,000 seats, and they probably pack 27 in that bitch. Anyway, but I swear to Christ, dude, wrestling in Japan is fucking crazy, but in Mexico, it is a whole nother fucking level, dude. I mean, you can be in the main event on Friday night at Arena Mexico, get up the next fucking day, go to Starbucks, get your cup of coffee, and you're on the fucking front page of the fucking newspaper. What other country on the planet reports on wrestling, which is all fucking fake, in the goddamn newspaper? You know, I'm not talking about the National Enquirer. I'm talking about, you know, Mexico City Times or whatever the fuck they call it, you know? So, needless to say, man, my wrestling career was fucking killer because the platform, strongman was awesome because, you know, in Europe it's huge. You know, you can compete in front of, you know, 5,000, 10,000, sometimes more depending on the events or where you are. But in wrestling, you can get in front of fucking 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people if you're in main events in big venues. So wrestling was a fun time. Although looking back, I will say, Jesus Christ, it is a lifestyle you really have to fucking adapt to. And I clearly see why there is so many deaths and drug addicts and shit in that sport, because I mean, the things that you have to do to survive in that world are fucking awful. I look back and I was like, how in the hell did I pull it off? Interesting.
Well, it's the travel schedule. I mean, those guys are on the road fucking 300 days a year. I mean, dude, like, you got to be up, you got to be down. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, and the impacts. I mean, dude, fucking NFL players are killing themselves, and we practice and play, but dude, the amount of guys, and the CT is other problems. I mean,
check this out. I got to give myself a plug here because during my wrestling career, there was a documentary company that basically, I can't remember how they found me, but they followed me and a few of the wrestlers, all over the world. Yeah, they even came back to my house when I was, they just wanted to kind of see the life. And it premiered last winter over in New York, but it got picked up by a distributor, and that fucker is releasing all over the country July 15th in like 15 different major markets. So I can't remember what it's called, but I would say probably 25% of that fucking flick is me and, wrestling and, with, you even see where I live and, fuck, they're in my backyard watching me barbecue fucking burgers,
Oh, that's vicious.
We'll have to figure out what it's called.
Is it called The Wrestler?
No. It's, if you go on my Facebook page, I shared the post. You can find it.
Yeah, we'll find it.
I can't remember, because it was basically a lucha. Because the lucha is like one of the oldest. For those who don't know, lucha is what the Mexicans call their wrestlers.
Yeah, the lucha.
Lucha is one of the oldest forms of wrestling. That's where a lot. I guess here again. I don't really know the roots of it, but that's where a ton of the tradition is, and so that's what it came down to. It was it was me. The star of the flick was actually my partner, a guy named Shocker. That was his wrestling name. Jose, that is his real name. But it was pretty fucking killer. So it's that was a really fun deal because when they're shooting, I can't tell you how. As an NFLer, you probably stumbled across this too, where you find people with projects and cameras and they give you all this attention and then you never fucking hear about it again. So for it to actually hit like 15 major markets is pretty fucking cool,
Yeah,
John, what was your wrestling name?
Strongman. The perfect.
That's original. That's good.
Perfect translation for Japan because when I'm going, that was part of the hiccup. It happened so fucking fast. My agents are, what the fuck are we going to call you? I got to call you something in this fraudulent resume I'm cooking up here. So in Japan, it's they're really, really fans of everything American. And so the translation is really, really funny. So if it was something that symbolized strongman but wasn't the word strongman, it just wouldn't work. And it played out perfectly for because part of the way he bridged me was that I was, a strongman athlete that had, turned my forces to the wrestling world, So
fucking awesome. It's a great story.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was in such fucking bad shape, I still couldn't fucking deadlift 315 because my back was still fucked up from surgery, but
made it work.
Hey, fuck it, dude. You know what? I always think it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission, and I always think most of the people that fucking get anywhere in this world just go seize it. And I think if you sit around and you wait,
what are you gonna do?
Happen. No, man, it's like I think people sit around and they wait for greatness to come, and you realize you got to go out there with a hatchet and fuck her down.
Somebody like yourself, dude, who fucking made it to one of the biggest platforms on the fucking planet. Where if we walked down the street and we bumped into 1,000, little boys, I don't think there would be one of them that wouldn't dream of fucking being an NFL player. So you went to the biggest platform, period. So it's understanding it's time to fucking stand up and get it done. Obviously, you get that to the fullest. Nobody gets the NFL by fucking sitting on their ass.
No, that and also,
that may be Bob Sapp.
Bob, and it's dude. People always ask me these fucking questions about it, and I tell them, I'm like, dude, I physically had to and probably a lot like yourself, dude. I was kind of skinny when I started lifting weights, and I wanted to bang weights because my older brothers were big and strong, and they both played in college. So I started lifting weights, and actually I wasn't very strong when I started. And so fucking being a little bit of humility or, kind of embarrassment and a little bit of shame and not being stronger, fucking forced me to have to do a lot of, fucking train harder and try to, be obsessive about it. And when I got to college, my goal wasn't necessarily to play in the NFL. I was just stoked to get there because I got.
Where did you play in college, brother?
UC Berkeley.
Oh, you told me that. Yeah, that's right. Fuck.
Yeah. So I played at Cal. And so I went there. I got a ride out of high school, and fucking started banging weights and training. And I saw this direct correlation between what I did in the weight room, and I weighed probably 255 pounds, 6'4", 255, and I was a late bloomer too. So I ended up growing to 6'6" while I was in college, and everybody was fucking bigger and stronger. I mean, I didn't even own a razor when I went to college, and these dudes got full chest hair and beard.
I was the same fucking way, man. Not a goddamn fucking hair on my face.
Oh, yeah, nothing. And I remember my roommate was like, hey, how come there's only one razor in there? And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't own one. He's like, why? I'm like, well, fuck, I never shaved. He had chest hair and a beard. And, I realized that, the only way that I could fucking even the playing field was to go in and train in the weight room. And I squatted 600 before I was 20. I benched 500 before I was 21. And actually the training that I put in the weight room ended up, all of a sudden, I was bigger and stronger. And my deal wasn't necessarily playing the NFL. I just didn't like to fucking get beat. So I would go out and play, and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck about, this football thing. I just don't like to lose.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the guys that I'm playing against in college, all of a sudden get drafted real high. It was a guy named Reagan Upshaw. And I don't know if you remember those guys. They were all from Pittsburgh and that area. All got drafted in the first round, top 10 pick. And I remember thinking fuck, that dude did beat my ass. And wait a minute, this guy got fucking drafted in the top 10. And then next thing you know, I got drafted, and then I went in and I started as a rookie and started my next 10 years in the NFL. And it was basically just because I didn't like to lose. But, it was something that I had to physically go out and find, whereas I always joke that scouts were searching for Bob Sapp. And they were like, hey, get over here. Because, Bob, if you watch Bob, and I watched Bob on film, Bob was, he was so fucking big and strong that, nobody was going to get fucking around him. But, when you get to the NFL and you realize everybody's big and strong, he's just
strong, and they can move laterally.
Yeah. But the crazy part is Bob ran 4.8 40 at the
dude, on paper you don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Dude, he literally ran sub 5 flat at 300. And dude, I remember him showing me his combine video, and he's there with his shirt off, and he's fucking abbed up. He's got oblique muscles, and it's he's 317
shit in their fucking pants, and they got DBs that look like that. This motherfucker is putting his finger in the dirt, Yeah.
And then the other crazy part is Bob could do a fucking splits. Mm-hmm. He would set up the two chairs and do the fucking Van Damme. Mm-hmm. So Bob was uber flexible, strong as a motherfucker, and fast. And they were like, this dude can't fucking lose.
Yeah, just not mean enough, huh?
No, because Bob's a really nice dude, but I've seen Bob get pissed, and it's kind of one of those things where you're I don't really want to upset Bob because he might fucking rip my head off. But Bob's a super smart, really nice dude. I think football's real interesting, especially at when you play offensive line. You gotta love the fucking violence of it. And I don't know if Bob had all these intangibles, but I don't know if he ever loved the violence of it's kind of fucked up because and I don't always tell people this, but when you play offensive defensive line, you play a position I did, there was really no football about it. I didn't really ever touch a ball. I didn't really understand all the fucking rules.
Just fucking fighting with the guy across from you, right?
That's it. It was just we're going to have
10-second rounds.
Well, yeah, no, it's roughly fucking about 70 rounds of 5 to 7 seconds of me trying to inflict as much pain and punishment as I can on you as fast as I can, so that I hope you give up and I don't fucking kill. That's all it was.
There was one of my favorite. I love to watch. I don't watch much TV, but I love to watch inspirational shit like 30 for 30 in football life.
Yeah.
And it was on the 85 Bears. And I remember watching Dan Hampton tell stories. And he's using his hands and his gesturing, and his fucking hands are just, they're tore up because exactly what you're saying. I mean, you're fucking fighting. I mean, can you imagine you're fighting with somebody? It's not like you're hitting their fucking skin. Your hands are hitting fucking metal and hard plastic stuff. And I don't think that, and I don't truly understand it. I don't think that many people truly get what goes on a line of scrimmage on a pro football field, you know?
It's a vicious game, and
it's unfortunate too because it's like that's the essence of it to me. Is that's where the fucking that's the trench. You know what I mean?
It's the thing which is strange is at least for me, everything kind of happened in slow motion. I know it sounds weird, but like I remember everything real vividly in kind of slow motion, and you know, as it was happening, like it didn't feel like it was fast, and you come off and you fucking ram your head into somebody. And like to feel like, you know, that kind of hammer versus the nail deal. And then the hilarious part would be like to all of a sudden go back and watch it, because on occasion, like the, you know, NFL films or different people will be filming from the sideline and they show you shit in real speed and you'd be like, fuck, really fast. Yeah. And you hear the ferocity of the impacts.
And nobody fucking understands how big everybody is because everybody's big. You're like, oh, that guy's not that big. He's fucking 6'6". What are you talking about? The guy across from him is fucking 6'9", you know?
Dude, I was one of the smaller athletic guys at like 6'6". Like I played most of my career about 305, 310. The dude that I played next to was like 6'8", like 345 pounds after he sat in the fucking sauna for about 2 hours.
Where did you play?
What's that?
What team?
I played 5 years in Philadelphia, then 4 in Kansas City, and then my last year in New England. And then I got hurt, and that was my 10th year, and I came home and had surgery.
Nice.
So it was Trey Thomas, who I played left guard. He was our left tackle. He was like every bit of 6'8", 345, 350 pounds, and didn't really lift weights.
Wow.
Didn't really fucking train.
Defensive tackle that I wonder if you played with him. Something tells me you might have he was really known to be fast. He was a black guy. He was kind of a guest at the Strongest Man Alive in Philly. God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. It was Wilkins last name, maybe. Started with a D first name.
Dan Wilkinson. Was he did he play down in the Redskins?
He played for Philly.
Oh, he played for Philly.
Yeah.
Was his name Darwin Walker?
Yes. Yeah, baby. Yeah, cool guy, dude. Really cool, dude. I was so blown away at how humble this guy was, you know?
Yeah, Darwin was I know him very, very well. I used to fucking lay an ass beating on that dumb motherfucker. He was actually he was the smart. I like to believe, you know, Berkeley guy, fairly intelligent, but I also like to believe that green straw. So, you know, a little bit of this. He was a structural engineer major from Tennessee, and he was the dumbest motherfucker I'd ever met. I'd be like, how the fuck were you an engineer? I think he works as an engineering company. He was like a super book smart dude. And he was strong. He was country strong. Real fucking strong.
It was him and another guy doing commentating, and it was basically a truck pull event where we had 2 fucking semis. So you pulled the first semi with 15 feet of slack, and then when you got 15 feet deep, the slack and the rope hit, and then the second one came. So it was like fucking each truck was like 24,000. So it's 48 by the time you got them both going, right?
Yeah. And
this fucking idiot who he's, doing announcing with is talking about how I'm pulling it with my arms because there's a lead rope. And Wilkins is like, no, that's got to be all the legs. There's no way he's pulling that with his arms.
Yeah, dude, old D-Walk, we had this deal, and so, like, just kind of the irony, dude, that's why I was loving about your deep water stuff. One of the programs we put out is called Jack Street. And the reason where the name comes from is on Friday afternoons during the season, after practice, we would always go in and bang weights and like do a bunch of bodybuilding shit. And so like Friday was really the only day that my upper body felt good enough to bench heavy. So I would come in and like, regardless of how many reps I get, I had to have at least 405 on the bar for one day. Like early in the season, it might be 8 reps. By the end of the season, it might be just a fucking single. But as long as I had 405 on the bar, I knew I was ready to go.
4 wheels on there, brother.
Yeah. and then we'd hit like a bunch of like curls and just do a bunch of bodybuilding shit. Well, Darwin always fancied himself as like a strong dude. And so he would always see me fucking going in there. And so then, all the guys ended up going in and we just basically just go bang heavy weights on Fridays. And because Veteran Stadium was on Broad Street and it was like the Broad Street Brawlers, I used to call it Jack Street. So that's where it came from. I'd be like, yo, man, let's go do – and that's where the facility was on Broad Street, so it was Jack Street. And so that's one of our programs that we put out is fucking Jack Street. But where that came from was our Friday afternoons, and Darwin was part of our Jack Street crowd. And and he was always super –
You're in contact with him still?
You know what? I haven't. I could always reach out to him. But, part of the problem is the defensive lineman guys didn't really like me that much because not only was I a fucking asshole, both on the field, but off the field, they didn't want to listen to me fucking belittle them mentally and emotionally. So he'd probably see me and be like, well, that motherfucker, I'm going to punch him. So, no, but I could reach out to him. No, he was a cool cat and just super strong and used to always push me on the bench real hard. So I remember one year, dude, you fucking do. Like, some of these things I could see you totally in this fight, but we got a bod pod, like one of those things that measures body fat. They sent one to the Eagles facility, and so everybody got in the bod pod, and of course we're all there trying to record everybody's body fat, and then we turned this content to actually have the lowest body fat in our offensive and defensive line and like the most lean muscle mass, and then we made a fucking award, like a Mr. Potato Head in a glass fucking case for the guy who was the fattest. But so we all threw money at a pool, and I think I came in at like 306 at like 8% body fat. So I was like 282 pounds of lean muscle, and I crushed everybody. There was nobody that was even under 15. And I also didn't tell them that I was drinking 2 gallons of water and fucking sat in the sauna and did a bunch of fucking weight cut shit.
That's the Berkeley coming out of you. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I was no dummy. And but yeah, I always remember him being like, "Fuck, man, you fucking killed us," and I was like, "Well, you're not as smart as me, so fuck off."
I love it, dude.
Yeah, but it was good fun.
Right for the fucking below the belt,
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, dude. So it's but no, it was a good time. That's funny, dude. I haven't thought of Darwin in a fucking long time. I'll have to reach out to him. So dude, so you do that professional wrestling, like what happened? You just ran its course and. Injuries.
Yeah, so basically, they basically when I got to New Japan, obviously keep in mind, and I say this now because my career's, I still do a little bit of wrestling here and there, but now it's just fucking paid vacation. I was a shitty wrestler. Fuck, man. It's people spend their whole lives learning to be good wrestlers like I spent in the gym. Wrestling was a financial deal for me. So when I got to New Japan, basically they were buying a big fucking strong man, so to speak. I was strong man. And it's wrestling's like a circus. You got to have your fat motherfucker. You got to have your giant. You got to have your midget. You got to have all that weird shit. Well, I was the strong man. And so they had to try to find a place to put me. They realized real quick that I was not going to be a fucking Tokyo Dome main event singles match wrestler. I just wasn't good enough, And so what they did is they paired me up with a guy named Nanabu Nakanishi, who was a fucking legitimate stud. It was he represented Japan 2 different years in Greco-Roman wrestling. So, we're talking about, a true athlete before going to wrestling. You find that a lot of times. You find athletes that, like myself, or actually McMichaels from the Bears, did the same thing, They run their course with the sport, with the real shit, and then they fucking jump over to wrestling for extension of the career, Anyway, so Nakanishi was my partner, and he was also a big motherfucker. So they were these 2 big beasts, and they called us Muscle Orchestra. And here again, this is the Japanese fucking translation. The gayest fucking name when you say it in English, but the fucking Japanese ate this shit up.
Dude, the Jays are by far the strangest fucking people in the world, dude. I've been to Japan, and dude, so weird.
So we hit right away. Fuck, we got our first year together. We got tag team of the year for Japan, which fucking pissed off a lot of people because at the time, there was a tag team in New Japan called Bad Intentions who had the most title defenses in history on that island, and we got the fucking tag team of the year, which of course comes with a bunch of press and a lot of push, and of course a nice bonus check. And so anyway, we were kind of like the new tag team in town, so to speak, and we were getting pushed, and we were challenging the current tag team title holders. Often, they don't just let you win. They build a story. We probably had 4 or 5 attempts at, taking the belts. And we were considered to be baby faces, which are good guys. And the other team was bad intentions by the name. They're heels, which is the bad guys. So it was real easy for them to keep the belt. We could be knocking the shit out of them, and they would cheat, which kind of meets their character. The ref wouldn't see it, and they'd keep the belts, Anyway, we were getting closer and closer to winning the fucking belts, and which would have been killer, because if we'd had the belts, it probably would have catapulted my career with them a ton more. Anyway, fuck, man, long and short of it, he fucking breaks his neck in the ring, like full fucking break, couldn't get up, and so he was, oh, Jesus Christ, it was probably a year recovery. And, they didn't even think he was going to walk again, but he's one of those guys. All he knew was athletics. He told me, he had a wife, he had all this shit, it was all wrecked over him wanting to be an athlete, and that's what he chose. So literally I went to go see him in the hospital, and there was just the way he talked. It was not even an option retiring. And so during that year, they teamed me up with a few different options, seeing if someone would take. But we were too big. Muscle Orchestra was just too big and too popular for me to grab another partner and, overcome the wave that had been created by Muscle Orchestra. So long and short of it, when he came back, obviously we were Muscle Orchestra again, and we started working, and, the difference was he just was not the same. He tried to hide it the best he could, but it just was not, there's no fucking way it was going to be believable that we were going to win the fucking belts when, he's just not executing the way that everybody remembered. And so, we had a good we ran for a couple more years. But as soon as it was clear that we were headed the wrong direction, they started making other plans. That's just the way the business works, And so I went from, having a secured position to not. That's just kind of, and I was also 42 at that time, just 2 years ago. And so it was, just like anything else, man. I'm sure like in football, you get in that position where they just realize it's better for them to, to start investing in somebody else. And you just got to fucking take it as much as you don't like it. And it sucked, man, because, obviously like in the NFL, you're at the top of the top. There's really no place to go and continue to play football. In wrestling, you see this all the time. If you saw the movie The Wrestler, the guy, he went to the top. He's fucking, working Madison Square Garden. And then when his career started to decline, he couldn't fucking let go. He's back in the high school gym. So
no, that's a weird thing, because I've seen guys do that shit where, like, they play at the top and then all of a sudden they get out, like, here, and next thing you know, they're playing arena football and they're like, hang on. For me, I made a deal with myself that the day that I could no longer play at the level at which I was accustomed and like the way I viewed myself, I would walk away and go do something else.
Yeah, and that's exactly the conversation I had with myself when. Because the writing was on the wall that it was not going to continue the way that they had originally planned. And I thought, well, if it ends up going this way all the way, when I get released, that's going to be it. I'm not saying that I won't wrestle anymore, because I actually did get picked up that following year by the first company I worked for, which is a good company, but they're just not the same. They don't have a full schedule. It wasn't full-time work. And so, now, I still get calls to wrestle. I'm supposed to go to China later this year, New Zealand at the very end of the year. But here, keep in mind, These are paid vacations. I have a set rate that I get paid per week. They cover all my expenses. Usually in that week, I'll wrestle once or twice. I take my fucking daughter with me. I'll take my lady with me. It's fucking paid vacation. I mean, my daughter, Jesus Christ, she's been all over the fucking world. She's only turns 14 on Friday, but, Jesus Christ, I mean, she's, so now every time I wrestle, she's going to go see another part of the world.
Awesome.
But like I said, it's paid vacation. I came home, realized, okay, it's time to make another fucking jump.
So now, is the jump now, John? You're into your bodybuilding, right? You said you're prepping for shows. So what's going on with that?
So true to Deep Water form, I come home. They pretty much told me that the end of 2013 was it. So I'm on the December tour, and they basically what they told me was that they'll have me come back on bit by bit terms, which is basically a nice way to say get the fuck out of here, So I come home. So that last tour, I've already started my first bodybuilding prep. I've already started diet for the first bodybuilding show because I'm not just like we talked about before. I'm not a waiter. I'm not going to wait for the next hour. I'm going to fucking get it. At this point, I'm 42. So the first time this happened, I'm 34. 42, I'm a bit deeper in the fucking hole. What's left for a fucking 42-year-old? No, bodybuilding was it, baby. My body is way too fucked up to try to make a run in any sort of strength sport. Strength sport's a young man's sport, and I sure as hell wasn't going to fucking go into the Masters. You know what I mean? So basically, I come home. My first bodybuilding contest was the Governor's Cup at the end of March 2014. Had no fucking clue how big this motherfucker was, but my plan was not just to do a local show and be done. My plan was to do the show, qualify, and go fucking win my pro card. So I went in there and, fucking wiped it out, dude. It was crazy. I mean, keep in mind, that was the second bodybuilding contest I'd ever been to in my life. So the first one was the Olympia because I was there. MHP has been my title sponsor for 13 years. So I was there with them, and they had extra tickets. You want to go check out the show? Fuck, yeah, I'll check it out. That was the first time I'd ever even seen a bodybuilding show, because when I immerse myself in something, that's all I see. I don't see other things. So anyway, so Governor's Cup, wipe it out. I'm fucking probably 40 pounds bigger. I'm better conditioned. Walk through that motherfucker. Then I thought, all right, well, I'm going to the next fucking step. So I went basically right back into fucking prep, earned my pro card, my second contest, which puts me in a class of like one of 3 or 4 people on the planet who ever done that. I'm the only person on the planet who's gone from the IFSA, which is International Federation of Strength Athletes, to the IFBB, which is International Federation of Bodybuilders, because you have to go into the feeder system, NPC, National Physique Committee, to get into the IFBB. That's where, like, my first show, my first 2 shows where I qualified and won my pro card, NPC. Now I'm IFBB, so I'm the only person that's ever successfully made the transition all the way. And so I get my pro card, my second contest, which, again, like everything else, fucking, I'm internationally fucking recognized almost immediately after I fucking opened the door to the new venture. Then that following year, I definitely knew that I needed a little time. Keep in mind, my training was never physique based. I've always liked to look good, but it was not about creating a certain look that was necessary to win a contest. I always wanted to be big and strong and fucking ripped, but I didn't really care if I had, what we call a missing body part. You know what I mean? That really didn't enter my radar. So as a wrestler, fuck, man, it was, I had to look good, but I was performance-based as well. It's a little bit of the strongman was just straight performance-based. Wrestling was kind of a little bit of both because I had to look good and I had to pick these big motherfuckers up over my head, so I had to be able to do both. Now, bodybuilding is not performance-based at all. It's 100% aesthetic, so I had to wrap my brain around how to kind of manipulate my training to deal with the fucking international play in bodybuilding. And so my first international professional contest as a pro bodybuilder was last year in the middle of the summer, which also doubled for my third ever bodybuilding contest, which nobody in the fucking back would believe. Europeans are like, we don't believe you. Well, I don't fucking fuck, man. It's not about fucking having you believe me. You asked me a fucking question. I answered it, So, placed fifth. So, to place top five, your first, your basically your pro debut, as well as being only your third ever bodybuilding contest, again, is pretty fucking unmatched.
But how angry were you that you didn't win?
I was planning on winning.
Yeah, no, I fucking sure you finished fifth, and you were like, "Fuck these motherfuckers! I should have." I'm just sure you were probably a piss. But five's great, third ever. You're like, "No, I should have won that shit. Fuck that."
Well, yeah, but I will say this, and that's how I felt all the way. But when I got there and I started to meet some of these guys that I've never seen these fuckers before. I'd seen them in pictures of magazines, my coach had told me, "Look, this is what you're going to be dealing with. You're dealing with guys that have spent 20 years trying to sculpt these muscles to look a certain way. You haven't done that." So I didn't really understand what he was saying at the time. But when I got there and I started meeting these guys like Cedric McMillan, he's just freaky, genetically gifted bodybuilding athlete. Like small joints, huge fucking muscle bellies. As soon as we're backstage, I meet him. I was like, okay, now I see what he's talking about. Now I understand what I got to do. So all in a couple of fucking seconds, I realized that winning that competition was not going to fucking happen because the inexperience. Keep in mind, some of that's probably bliss because my inexperience when I come charging in these new fucking venues keeps me focused on being the best and not thinking about second place. But then, when you get there and you see the reality, I'm not a dumb motherfucker. I can say, okay, I'm not going to beat this guy. You know what I mean? And so, and then also, too, what really fucking hurt me was I got so exposed on my posing because, fuck, I've only been a bodybuilder for fucking 10 months, I've only been working on these poses for 10 months. These guys have been doing this shit for fucking 15 years. There's a big difference between a guy who can grab a pose and without looking in the mirror, know that he has his body in the right position to appease the judges versus me. I'm fucking posing in front of a mirror and I'm twisting and turning and tweaking to get that certain look. You take the mirror away and I'm guessing, And so there's no question I got really, really exposed. So the bottom line is when it was over, I was actually, pretty fucking happy with fifth. But, just like you said, going into that motherfucker, I had no plans of doing anything other than winning. But that's the mentality you got to have if you're going to fucking start bulldozing through these different athletic avenues. You know what I mean? So now it's a different fucking deal because now I got to actually stand next to the guys. It's not just me looking at pictures. Let me trust me when I tell you. You look at a bodybuilding magazine, the fucking pictures are impressive. But when you actually see, these guys, that are in shape, ready to go, because you basically create a look for that day, period. You don't look the same the day before. You don't look the same the day after, right? It is fucking pretty crazy. It's definitely different than what you see in the magazine pictures. So, now that I actually have seen it in person, know what I got to do, it's a whole different ballgame. So my sophomore season is going to be different for sure. I know right now, this Saturday marks 2 weeks out from my first show of this year. I would say 2 weeks ago, so I was 4 weeks out, I would have whipped the shit out of myself last year. So, still with 4 weeks to go, I was better than I was at my best last year. And that's the beautiful thing. And my coach tells me that I'm going to be making these quantum fucking leaps forward because this is all new. And so I'm looking forward to it. The goal here is to get on that fucking Olympia stage. If I get on the Olympia stage my sophomore season, that's pretty fucking hot. Once you're there, you're top 15 in the world, even if you place fucking last, you know?
No, that's great, man.
What's your body weight? What do you hope to step on stage at?
I'm about 275 right now. So I'm guessing that.
I don't know if people are listening, but you say you're just over 6 feet tall, 275. Like it's fucking massive. Because what was like at the biggest? Like what was Ronnie Coleman and those guys? Like Dorian Yates and those dudes were not too. They were close, maybe 260.
Well, Ronnie actually has the heaviest weigh-in at Olympia ever, and it was fucking crazy big. That would be 296, if you can believe that.
Dude, well, no, he's fucking massive.
Yeah, I mean, you almost got to take Ronnie out of the equation because nobody quite understood how he did what he did. But the long and short of it, even at the elite level, if you're 250 plus, you're a fucking monster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So last year I came in, I was 64. And so that was part of the issues as not having experience. I never really knew where I needed to end up being. My coach was like, there's a lot of guesswork here because we don't have, 15 shows to compare. We're just going down trying to find the right spot. So basically my plan is to come in right again about 64, maybe just a few pounds less, but the fact that I'm so much fuller and rounder is going to give me a whole different deal. I'm going to be in better shape. I mean, like right now, the term on your back is called Christmas tree. When all your body fat goes away, you actually see where the lats insert. I've had that fucking Christmas tree. It's been fucking widely visible for the last fucking Jesus Christ. I mean, it didn't come in last time till 3 weeks out. It's been in for probably 8 weeks this time. So, I mean, I am so much leaner, so much rounder, so much fuller. I'm going to be a totally different athlete. And then one of the biggest things that they told me was that, because all the strength training thickened up my waist pretty fucking good, And so they said that, I've got the shoulders to offset it and the back to offset it. But any progress that I can make on bringing my waistline down is going to really, really help because it's going to give me a better illusion. And I cracked a plan to do so, which I love because, problem solving is all about fucking, that's deep water to the T. I mean, you got a fucking problem. You find a way to work it out and kick ass. Anyway, so my waistline is so much more fucking streamlined this time. It's going to be good, man. I'm excited.
It's awesome, dude. I'm stoked to fucking see it now.
Yeah.
It's the bodybuilding thing has always been kind of confusing in a lot of ways to me because there's no athleticism about it. I mean, it's basically like you're standing up there in static poses. And what fucking sucks is that it's somebody's objective or maybe fucking biased opinion, like them viewing you.
Yeah.
And then them judging you based on that in comparison to other people. So, in a way, I like fucking wins and losses. I like, did I do it? Did I get the lift? Did I win? And I think that's easier. And it sounds like your same mentality, which fucking 100%. So now you're going into something that's completely fucking subjective.
Yeah. The competition, I'm forced to live in the gray.
Well, it's fucking weird. Because you're like, dude, it's like, yeah, is that hard for you to fucking with as black and white as you are to now, like you said, go over to this thing that's so subjective where you're like, hey, it's, and I don't know who the fucking judges are, but them obviously up there with their little clipboards deciding who's the winner, who's the loser. And I'll tell you this, I went to a bodybuilding show. I used to train with 2 bodybuilder guys when I moved back to California because they were only dudes that were pretty fucking strong at the gym. And I went to their bodybuilding show, and I couldn't tell you the difference between the first and the fucking last guy. Yeah. They all looked fucking jacked. They were all fucking tan. They all smelled fucking terrible, like their breath was toxic because, they probably are so carb depleted and fucking water depleted. I mean, they all looked like they were walking around like they were about to go into a full body cramp. And I couldn't tell the fucking difference. So, like, I think, like, that's what always fucking tripped me about the bodybuilding is, like, and for you having fucking been a strongman and, like, done, like, you know, all, like, been a strength athlete all your life, like, fuck, is that hard? Like, how do you manipulate it? Is it just
one of the principles of deep water, which plays perfectly into what we're talking about, is this laser beam focus. And in order to really execute the laser beam focus, one of the rules that you have to live by is you have to remove any thought or you cannot waste an ounce of energy on something that you cannot control, because that's giving away your efforts. You know, you got to take your efforts, you got to channel it into something you can control. So what we're discussing, I don't like one fucking bit, but I have.
Well, you don't worry about it.
I have zero ability to control it, so I don't even fucking think about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm kind of interested a little bit, like, you know, earlier in our talk, you talked about finding tuna fish, and like that was your fucking protein. I listened to your Mark Bell stuff and was fucking dying. Like, is it true you eat like 500, 600, 700 grams of protein a day? Do you still eat like that?
Oh yeah, the protein never changes, man. I mean, like, for the most part, like right now, as I'm getting closer, of course, I have to reduce my overall calorie cap, but for the most part, my protein is going to exist between 500 and 700, period. It never, ever moves from there. 500 grams is about the lowest it's going to get for this. All I have to do is remove. See, the beautiful thing, one of the things with deep water that makes it effective is simplicity. You put a whole bunch of fucking variables on the table, you don't know what's working and what's not.
Sure.
My diet is simple. You take the carbohydrates out of play, all I have to do is fucking manipulate fat to go up or down. You know, so I basically 700 grams of protein. That's my normal set deal, and then I start pulling out fat to go down to lose my own body fat. And then once I get to the point where there's no more fat to take out, I'm forced to start pulling protein out, and that's where I am. So I mean, right now I am.
So how many grams of carbs are you eating?
I don't eat carbohydrates ever. So I mean,
So you're a pure ketogenic diet guy.
Yeah. I mean, you keep in mind, as you probably heard if you've listened to other podcasts like Bell's, I'll mention what I call unintentionally digested carbohydrates. Like a couple tablespoons of peanut butter has got 2-3 grams in it. You can't get that shit out of there.
Sure.
The carbs are everywhere in minuscule little amounts.
Sure.
The difference is, are you truly, truly trying to avoid them? I mean, you can get the peanut butter that's got 10 fucking grams for a fucking serving, or you can get the one that's got 2. That's the lowest, and that's, here again, cannot control that motherfucker. You know, but right now, my diet is fucking boneless, skinless chicken breasts and fucking green, starchless vegetables.
Delicious.
Yeah.
That sounds so tasty. Yeah. Wait, so had you ever eaten carbs?
Well, back when, remember we were talking about when I stumbled across the tuna fish, right?
Yeah.
So when I start fucking, you know, when I go into my over-the-top mode and I start fucking pounding down the protein, I'm worried about getting as much protein as I can. I don't give a shit about, you know, the carbohydrate is in the way, you know? So, I mean, ultimately, carbohydrate for me kind of eliminated itself because I want.
Well, you can't eat carbs and you're eating 700 grams of protein a day. And
That's what I tell people. If you truly focus on protein, you're not going to have fucking much room for carbohydrate.
Well, that and also, gluconeogenesis. I mean, your body's going to convert protein to fucking glucose anyway, so it's not that big a deal.
And that's a killer point that you brought up because we haven't known that and like a rock solid fact forever. And so there was a time when part of the argument to my philosophy was that I was just wasting protein or weight. And I was like, no, there's no fucking way. My body is burning this shit. It's not easy, but it's doing it.
Well, I firmly believe that you can teach your body to absorb more protein over time.
Yeah, 100%.
the idea that I have is that actually the bigger you are, the taller you are, the longer your small intestine is, the more protein you can absorb. So like that was like, the Barry Sears where it's like, oh, you can only absorb 30 grams of protein in a meal. And I'm like, dude, you're full of shit. I'm like, dude, I've eaten 500-600 grams of protein a day.
The thing that fucking kills me is these people that try to make these fucking blanket statements because right away when someone does that, it tells me they're dumb as a motherfucker.
Well, the thing that like most people are basing it on is like, well, yes, for maybe a 135-pound woman who eats, fucking 3 or 4 meals a day, maybe 30 grams of protein. But I'm like, dude, wait a minute. Like at minimum 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Like let's say I weigh 300 pounds, it's 300 grams. I'm like, so what? I'd have to eat 10 fucking meals a day. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And on top of it, who the fuck eats 30 grams of protein, dude? If I sit down and eat like a 2-pound fucking steak.
What is 30 grams of protein?
That would be roughly 4 ounces of meat.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah, like I don't even want to eat a fucking burger that's 4 ounces. But like it's I mean it's I don't know, dude. I always tell dude the other thing I said is people fucking go crazy and they talk about Krebs cycle and you need carbohydrate and all that. I'm like, if given the opportunity, you could live forever on fat. Fucking, you could live forever on protein. You can't live on fucking carbs. And
another thing that I say, brother, fits right into this is one of the sayings I say to people is don't get fucking lost in the details. Worry about the shit that fucking matters. Who gives a fuck about all these little goofy fucking facts that may or not make a difference? Are you getting your fucking protein and lifting a heavy weight? Shut the fuck up, eat your protein, and stop thinking about the shit that doesn't matter.
But isn't that really what people love?
It's nothing more than a way for people to fucking create excuses and procrastinate. Sorry about that, fellas. I figured while I was at it, I would switch my drink from my BCAA to my highly
Bob Sapp's urine.
It's a product that it's like this really intense vitamin C. That when I'm dieting down, I drink 2 of these a day.
Jesus.
The vitamin C has a lot of benefits that people don't know about, but it's got to be in really, really high absorbable levels.
Yeah, no. We were just sitting here talking about how many boneless, skinless chicken breasts you have to eat to get 700 grams of protein.
Dude, Terry cooks 10 fucking pounds of chicken every fucking day.
How do you cook it?
Barbecue?
Yeah, we got a big fucking queue out on the deck. It's fucking beautiful. I live on, like I said, it's North San Francisco, but I live on the water. It's an inlet off the bay. It's a big fucking barbecue right over the fucking water. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's nice. I have a roommate who is trying to get in the bodybuilding thing for a while, and he'd eat 4 pounds of boiled chicken breast a day.
So bad. It reminds me of my college. When I was in college, I was trying to put on weight, and I like fucking read some bodybuilding magazine, and it was like Dorian Yates' pre-contest fucking Olympia diet was like 18 chicken breasts. I'm like, that fucking 18 chicken breasts. And then it was like boiled red potatoes with olive oil and fucking balsamic vinegar was fucking what I ate. It was fucking terrible. Like puff rice cereal or some stupid shit in milk. But dude, two things. Just wanted to pub the book a little bit. I'll tell you, dude, I haven't read it yet, but I'm fucking excited to read it now. And then the other one is what's up with Mark Bell's gay infatuation with you, calling you deep cheeks?
That's a fucking funny story. So basically, that came from one of the early podcasts. God, I'm racking my fucking brain to remember how the whole thing played out. I don't remember the setup, but basically what it comes down to is I was saying that it was off one of the shit stories. That's what it was. So basically it was talking.
What's up with Mark Bell and his infatuation with shitting and fucking nailing dudes in the butt?
I don't know. The shitting thing is he told me actually was kind of launched by me because he said, you got any great stories from Japan? And I told this story about fucking almost shitting my pants and missing the fucking toilet or the hole in the ground over there. And the young boy had to fucking clean it up and it just blew up, dude. Well, that's that podcast was the one where Deep Cheeks came out. So basically I was, we were laughing and going on, but Deep Cheeks comes from the fact that if you're doing your fucking posterior chain work, that you can fucking, fart or shart and you're safe because you got deep cheeks. It's not going to hit.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, I thought it had to do something with like him trying to like nail you in the butt or something because he's like, oh, he's got deep cheeks. And I was like I remember Mark kind of telling me the story and I was like, you're fucking went off the reservation with this case.
If you didn't follow the podcast series that we've done, I could totally see where that looks a little strange.
I mean, but it's totally cool. I'm totally cool with it. It's not a negative.
Okay.
But so, John, let's just give me a preview or synopsis of the book, because I know we're giving a bunch away to the first few hundred people who register to get a free download. So what can these guys look forward to as they're diving into this thing?
And on that level, there's just so in the book, there's all sorts of great shit. There's diet stuff, there's training programs, but this book was written before I turned my energy to bodybuilding. So now I actually have, and there should be a link that'll be with somewhere on your website where for $17 a month you can get a subscription for weekly programming. So it's bodybuilding training with a deep water flair, baby. It's nasty, nasty shit. But so basically, deep water, kind of what it does is it's a little bit of a bio. It starts off with, me as the fat little fucker. It kind of goes through my first experience about really, discovering hard work. I almost get fucking run over by a shipping barge. I was kind of a spoiled, entitled little fucker myself, lived on the water up in Oregon, Willamette River. Beautiful fucking place, Anyway, so I almost got fucking run over by a shipping barge. The process of not getting killed, that's where I kind of had my first light bulb go off. And so then from there it goes into, just more of the story getting me to where I am. And then there's a handful of training stories, which are pretty inspirational. And then it goes into kind of gives you a little bit of a how-to. So it's going to give you dieting guidelines. There's food lists in there. Like if you can eat off the food list, thank you, baby. If you can eat off the food list, you can truly eat off that list and nothing else, you're going to get fucking lean, period. I swear to Christ, I've seen it 1,000 fucking times. Obviously, it's a carbohydrate-free list.
It's amazing. It's
very, very few carbs. They're unintentionally digested carbohydrates. Then it goes
into sneaky carbs.
What's that?
We call them sneaky carbs.
There we go.
You got to have the sneaky carbs.
Goes into some of the crazy lists that I've done, because that's always, people are always intrigued by that. Fuck 405. I've squatted 405, and keep in mind stuff's without spotter, so it's legit. Nasty shit. 405 for 43 in one set. 500 for 26. All that kind of goofy shit. Then it goes into like challenges to where if you can do this, you get the title of Great White, or it's just kind of fun stuff. And then goes into 3 different training programs where you've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Now the beginners is really killer, because even advanced people get their fucking asses kicked by this, because that's some of the stuff that I did, and I thinned it down a little bit, because the beginners program was very, very, it was basically a spin-off of what I was doing early on when I was talking about those 3-4 hour fucking sessions. So like 10 by 10 is a staple for me. You fucking load up a squat bar and you fucking push yourself for 10 sets of 10, you are going to be fucked up,
Yeah. No, we've done that.
Then what it gets into from there, it goes into like, one of the crazy fucking deals I did, I cleaned, and you'd appreciate this as a football player's power clean's a big part of training there. 100 kilos, which is 220 pounds, for 101 reps straight without rest. Pretty fucking, I mean, that probably was one of the most fucking brutal things I've ever done. It was fucking mad. It seemed like it took me fucking weeks. Probably took me 11, 12 minutes. Crazy. But then when I get into the advanced, which is really cool, I really teach you how to get the most out of your training. And this is where we actually get into what I call the portal. It's like you start to recognize these little windows of opportunity to get in deep water. And what I'm talking about, people sometimes have moments of this, they don't know what it is, but you ever have that moment where you're doing a set and you're like, fuck, normally 10 of these is hard. I'm at 8 and I'm killing it. I could probably do fucking 19 today. Well, the problem is that most people never seize that moment and they never really try to recreate and they never look for the next opportunity. As to where deep water is all about fucking not only seizing those moments, but creating them. And so you have to it's like looking for a little bit of a needle in a haystack because you can't force it. It's not going to happen on just every training day. But one of the methods that I used to kind of spark the opportunities is in the advanced method where you'll take say a squat, and I'm going to have you go up to a pretty heavy weight, say, on reps 5, into a pretty high percentage. And then you're going to fucking drop down to a fairly low percentage, 60, 70%. And you're going to fucking go until you can't go anymore. And that's where you start to recognize the portals popping up. And what portal is what I talk with, that's what I reference. It's like a window that you kind of jump through and you go into the deep water world and you're able to do things that you can't do on the other side of the portal. And so once you get in the advanced program, you'll see that was the method that I used to really, really find myself. Because, you can live deep water day to day, but if you really, really want the benefits of what I'm doing here, you have to fucking learn to get through that portal and do something. Literally, some of these experiences fucking changed my life. It's like you push yourself, you get in that place where you don't fucking feel the pain. Even though you can't breathe, you feel like you're breathing fine. And all of a sudden, you just kind of fucking can't stand up with the weight. And that's it. But what you've done is fucking so far off the charts of what you've ever done before. That's what it's all about. Now you're fucking carving out a new path. You're basically doing something that's, that's what deep water's all about, baby. It's about fucking moving forward hard and fast. Hence my 3 careers, man. I didn't spend fucking forever rolling around in the fucking the gutters of these fucking things. I went from being an unknown to international and internationally recognized in all 3 of these motherfuckers in less than fucking a year. So, I think the longest it took me to go from first contest to internationally recognized was 9 months, So, and it has everything to do with deep water being able to move forward in a way that people just can't or don't understand how to do.
So, and a lot of luck. You sound like kind of a lucky guy, so I'm going to go. I'm going to give you a little bit of luck in there. You're like, luck ain't got nothing to fucking do with it, motherfucker.
Honestly, if I was fucking
your own luck.
If I was lucky, I'd have been fucking 6'7", and I'd have been playing next to you on the fucking
Yeah, dude, I just happened to grow kind of tall, so I was, it's funny, dude. People ask me all the time. I had a guy years ago when I owned a commercial gym hit me out and be like, hey, if I were to come and start paying you now, I think there's a good chance you could, guarantee that my kid would be able to get a scholarship and maybe get a chance to play in the NFL. And I was, looking at this dude, and I was like, how tall is your wife? And he was like, oh, I'm 5'5". I'm like, because you're 5'7". I'm like,
there's not much here.
I was like, yeah, man. I'm like, dude, NFL players aren't fucking made, dude. They're fucking born. I'm like,
the NFL, you've got to start with a fucking set of tools that, if you don't have them, there's nowhere to go.
It's competitive like that. And I was like, and even to be a white dude, it's even fucking way less. What's out there.
And a smart white dude on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's there's no question that Deep Water was going back to the beginning. For me, I didn't have the tools. I didn't have any of that shit. I'm completely fucking self-made, and it was all about me developing this fucking intensely fucking productive system, which takes a lot of mental fortitude. And if you can actually adapt to it, you will be mentally stronger. And you know what people in my facility say, and keep in mind, there's different threads of deep water in there, but it's truthfully not for everybody. I mean, there are pieces of it that'll work for everybody. But the bottom line is this: even in the stuff that's not straight, that it's just bites off of deep water in the training, everybody there says, after say 3 months of being there, says, what I used to things that used to be difficult are fucking easy now. And that's that's the start right there. Because once you start to recognize that you can create a bigger, stronger existence, who the fuck doesn't want to push that envelope?
Sure. So, I'm fucking with you, dude. I mean, it's fucking awesome and refreshing. And, dude, this was fucking really
great show, man.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. I mean, dude, I'd love to shit. Hopefully we get a chance. I'd love to meet up in person at some point, whether we come up north or shit.
Have you come down here?
Or come down here. I fucking love to be able to grill up about 100 ounces of fucking steak and see how we get through it.
Dude, let me tell you, most of the time I'm a red meat eater, but when I'm fucking fighting shit, it's fucking white, boneless, skinless shit. What I do for fucking a big old pound steak right now, Jesus Christ.
I was gonna say, dude, I fucking hate chicken with like the fucking fury of 1,000 suns. Like Luke and I joke here. We're like, you know what's better than chicken?
Probably some dirt.
Yeah, dirt's slightly better than chicken. Like it's fucking the worst. So I know what you're saying, man. Like if given the opportunity, I fucking hate chicken.
Oh yeah,
where it fits into your your
contest, man. You got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no option here. I can't stress over something I can't control.
Yeah, no. And why should you? I'm just and this is just kind of a interesting fucking observation. I used to train with these bodybuilder dudes, and I've met fucking dudes that were jacked that ate a high carb diet, low fat, low protein. I met dudes that were jacked that ate no fucking carbs, high protein. I mean, every fucking diet on the planet. And they were all fucking jacked and able to step on stage and be successful bodybuilders. It seems like, finding what works for you is really the hardest thing. And the shit that kills me is everybody fucking like puts up like, this is what you need to do. And you're like, well, this is what worked for you as an individual. And, a big part of this shit is figuring out what fucking works for you. I mean, for me personally, I don't feel real good on a super high carb diet. Like I fucking try to eat them and I just get fucking tired. And the other thing I fucking hate is I hate the feeling of full. Like I don't like to overeat at meals, unless I'm going to go to bed in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So sitting down and eating like a 2,000 calorie meal, fucking like, but yet I know other dudes that can fucking crush massive amounts of food at like one sitting and be fine. Like it kills my training. So I mean, like we train in the morning, and I don't eat before I train because if I eat, I fucking feel sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I also played every NFL game of my career hungry. Like I wouldn't eat really before a game because I wanted to feel like lucid and hungry and fucking like energy.
I'm pissed off, man. Give me something to eat, goddammit.
Yeah. But dude, I played with
guy across me is holding a fucking cheeseburger.
Well, dude, I used to play with guys that would eat a monster breakfast and then fucking bring in like 3 fucking containers and would be eating before the fucking game. And I was like, what the fuck are you guys eating? They're like, you don't get hungry? I'm like, no.
That's exactly what you're saying. Everybody's so fucking different, man.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, dude, you found a fucking great stride. But the one thing that's interesting and fucking universal is the mindset. The idea that, people create their own fucking prisons. And like over the years since I've learned, I'm like, dude, you are your fucking warden. You're your own prisoner.
I didn't fucking know they're living it.
Well, what's crazy is you decide how big your walls are. You decide if there are walls, and you decide where the prison is.
Yes.
So I meet people all the time with these fucking obstacles, and I'm like, dude, you're creating your own fucking prison, man. Don't create this shit, and don't limit yourself, whether it be because of fucking self-doubt, laziness, whatever. Just fucking go. And like, you know what? Like, fuck, like Luke would be the first one to tell you around here. I'm like, hey, fuck it, dude. We don't always know where we're going, but we're going to go there 100 miles an hour. And like all the time we get in the car like, let's go to lunch. We're fucking driving as fast as we can. We don't know where we're fucking going, but we're going to find something soon. And it sounds like, for you especially, you kind of were able to fight out of a negative place, like you said, battle dyslexia, fucking, eating disorder, all these other things, and figured out what lane worked for you, dude. And you're fucking crushing it, dude. And it's always, at least for me, amazing to connect with people that are so good at what they do and fucking, basically set the trend. And that's awesome, dude. So I'm stoked to get a chance to talk to you and hopefully get to meet up in person.
Thank you, brother. I feel the same way, dude. It's fun to share. It's of course it's fun to share my way, but it's even more fun to share with someone who has made it to the top in another venue. You know what I mean? You've been at the top. You know what I mean? But I've been banging around in professional careers, if you are, but they're all three of them put together is not an NFL career of 10 years.
Thank you. No, dude. Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a fun deal, and sadly, when I was doing the job, all my friends played in the NFL. So, like, it doesn't really seem like a big deal. Like, I know it sounds fucking weird, but, like, all my friends did it, so you just figured everybody does it. You kind of live in that clique, and it wasn't until I retired and got out and looked around where I was like, oh, shit, this thing's kind of a big deal. And I'm like, and people are talking about it, but it's...
That's what you got to be, man. When you can't sit there and be fucking starstruck when you're fucking doing it. Jesus Christ. You got to be... It's another day in the office, goddammit.
Yeah, and, and the biggest one is... and I'm sure fucking you too, like, you sound like the type of guy, like, you don't like to lose, and I used to run into guys all the time, but, like, I'm not going out here fucking just to get dressed up for nothing. I'm not going out here to, like, put on a good show. I'm either going out here to fucking win or fucking die trying, and if I can't fucking play at the level, then I'm not going to fucking do it. I'll go do something else.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like the same thing. I mean, I always hated seeing, like, the Brett Favre fucking wheel him out for one more season, and he's the shell of who he used to be, and I was like, hey, fucking... Don't do that to your
fucking hang up the cleats, baby.
Yeah. Like you either fucking win the Super Bowl and like nobody wants to see the fucking old guy and get it tarnished. Fucking go out like a fucking champ and walk away. Which is what I'm stoked Peyton Manning did. He won the Super Bowl and he's like, I probably he fucking rode off in the sunset. And you're like, go do something else now. Now go run your 100 Papa Johns.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. We share that view 100%. That's obviously why when one career has come to an end, I've dove into another one, and when the time comes that I can't fucking get to a, international platform, that's it. It's fucking, just game's over.
You got to hang up those skimpy fucking bikini underwear.
The fucking joke is that as my career moves forward, I'm fucking losing clothes.
So you went from like boots and or strongman, and then you went to like boots and like wrestling trunks, and now you're wearing like
strongman. You're fucking covered in Ray-Bans, keeping yourself protected. Then fucking wrestling, you traded in for knee-high leather fucking boots and a Speedo. Now all I got is a fucking like a skimpy cut Speedo, for Christ's sake,
Oh, dude, what color Speedo you rock?
Usually I do dark colors, because if you look, even like now, you put me in something fucking white, I look like I'm fucking homeless because I spill shit. I'm not I take showers, I'm clean, but I'm messy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I eat fucking, Jesus Christ, I'm always spilling something on me when I'm eating,
Well, I'm feeling bad that we've kept you this long on the podcast because I know you missed about 3 fucking meals.
I'm starving, dude. My meal's sitting.
I can see you like looking around, so we'll cut it here. I don't want to be the fucking catalyst to miss you, at least 1 gram of protein. Thanks again, amigo, dude. Fucking best of luck to you, and fuck you. We'll meet up soon.
Right on, fellas. Thank you for your time.
Be good.
See you, John.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you to empower your performance. Don't forget to sign up to receive your free copy of Deep Water by Jon Andersen. All you have to do is head to www.powerathletehq.com and look for this episode's blog post. In it, you'll find a short form for the first 5,000 listeners, but be sure to hurry because this generous offer is going fast. Jon has even carved out his space among the great training systems on Train Heroic, our programming platform of choice. To find it, simply search Deep Water or follow the link found on this episode's blog post. Finally, you can find all things Jon Andersen at www.jon-andersen.com. That's ANDERSEN.com. Until next time, bye!